This is Caring for Kids on News Talk 760 WJR. Presented by the Children's Foundation. And here's your host, President and CEO of the Children's Foundation, Larry Burns.
Well, thanks, Mark. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Caring for Kids, February 2020. I hope everyone is off to a great new year. And welcome to this episode of Caring for Kids. Tonight we have a great lineup of guests who are all working hard to improve the health and wellness of children and families. And my favorite is when all the guests are in the studio, and tonight each of our guests is live in the studio. So tonight we're going to be joined first by Jocelyn Hagerman. Jocelyn is the founder of Sky Point Ventures and the CEO of the Hagerman Foundation based in Flint. And she is also a newly appointed member of our Children's Foundation Board of Trustees. And I'm really looking forward to working with Jocelyn and the Hagerman Foundation as we continue our journey into the state of Michigan, including Flint, Genesee County, Saginaw. And so we're going to hear from Jocelyn about all of those great things in communities. Brent Wirth is the president and CEO of EasterSeals, Michigan. And EasterSeals is a new partner of the Children's Foundation in Grand Rapids. So we're going to hear about the statewide initiatives of the EasterSeals. And I think you're going to learn a lot of new information about the EasterSeals that maybe you didn't know. So you don't want to miss Brent Wirth coming up soon. And then rounding out our guests will be Dr. Patrice Johnson, who is the executive director of Boys Hope, Girls Hope of Detroit. They also are a new partner of the Children's Foundation, and they do some wonderful mentoring of kids for about 8 years. They do that. They get them in the 9th grade, and they sort of track them through college. And you're going to hear about the great statistics that they have. They have a new house that the foundation helped renovate, and they're really providing great opportunities for young men and women to go on to higher ed and do great things in their career. And that's all coming up next on Caring for Kids, here on the great voice of the Great Lakes, News Talk 760 WJR.
It's Caring for Kids with Larry Burns.
February edition, so hopefully everyone's having a great 2020 so far. With me in the studio is Jocelyn Hagerman. Jocelyn is the founder and co-owner of Sky Point Ventures, as well as chief executive officer of the Hagerman Foundation. She is passionate about community development and is heavily involved in leadership and philanthropic efforts throughout Genesee County and beyond. Jocelyn is a graduate of Central Michigan University, Fire Up Chips, and in 2018 she received an honorary doctorate in public service from CMU. So Jocelyn, welcome to Caring for Kids.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Yes, great to see you as always. And thanks for coming down to Detroit from Flint. And so tell our listeners about the Hagerman Foundation, maybe a little bit about the history and some of your current priorities.
Okay, well, first of all, I feel very blessed to be here and blessed that I am a active participant in our own foundation. We had started it and opened it in 2014, and I've had the privilege to help out a tremendous amount of grantees and some of the things that we focus on are community, education, and families. Those are our priorities. And through the 6 years that we've had our foundation, a lot of the work that we do is child-related or impacts the children. So I'm very excited to see that and reflecting back through the years. Some of the things that we're going to be working on and continuing to work on is the missions of the children, also the community involvement that we do have, and starting to get a little bit more focused on some of the mission-driven actions and advocacy for the current grantees that we have supported.
We are honored to have you as a new trustee of our Children's Foundation, so thank you for taking that assignment, and I know that you're, over the next several years, going to get very involved with us, sort of reaching out beyond southeastern Michigan into Flint. And as we get more involved in the Flint area, and during my visits there, I have visited you, I visited folks from the United Way, the Community Foundation, and I get a sense that things, particularly downtown, are improving, and that the service-related organizations in the community are really coming together. Maybe since the water crisis, maybe that was in some way brought these organizations and folks together. So do you sense that too as well in Flint?
Yeah, definitely. When I first started working downtown Flint, it was pretty quiet and not a lot going on. When the water crisis hit, it definitely was straight to the kneecaps because you feel like you're moving forward, and then having that happen, it kind of sets you back. But everybody really, truly rallied for the cause, for the people, and it's been tremendous. As awful as the situation has been for all of the people in the community, it has also been ignited people to be even more passionate, to bringing them together and working together. And I have seen just so much movement, especially on the northern side of Flint. Couple things that we particularly help support, and where people are working together, and several of the foundations are working together, and community organizations there's 3 community centers on the north side, and they were not there at all beforehand. They were old, dilapidated buildings, and different leadership brought those up and opened the doors with our support and other support in the community. And now, they're servicing hundreds, if not thousands, of people on the north side of Flint. And just to kind of make mention, because I'm really proud of them, is Sylvester Broom and the Flint Development Center and Burston Fieldhouse. They were not there 6 years ago, and they're there and existing and really supporting the people. So
Great.
It's exciting.
Well, that's great. And I really sense that when I get up there and meet people, and you've introduced me to some folks as well. And we're talking with Jocelyn Hagerman of the Hagerman Foundation, and now of the Children's Foundation as a trustee. And so SkyPoint Ventures, which I mentioned, has also played a role in downtown Flint with some of the renovation of buildings. Can you tell us a little bit about that, too?
Sure. Right around the same time period, we started SkyPoint Ventures. We had some venture capital companies that we were working with, and in part of that, there was also a real estate component to that. We had purchased particularly 2 buildings on Saginaw Street downtown, and they're over 100 years old. We didn't really have much of a vision when we initially had it. We just knew we wanted to make a difference. And in that, through the years in the process, we have now restored both of those. One's 5 stories, the other one's 7 stories. They're fully, they've got occupants in them, and things are thriving. And so we're very excited about what's going on in that capacity. Plus, also we have another couple of businesses of our own that we're working and generating through those 2,
Great.
creating jobs.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. When I was there, enjoyed the incubator that I saw in one of your buildings, as well as the cool coffee shop.
Yeah, got to have your coffee.
You got to have your coffee. And so the Hagerman Foundation is not, it's relatively new. And so what are you hoping in the future that the Hagerman Foundation gets involved in? And then maybe a little bit why you think the Children's Foundation and the Hagerman Foundation might make a good partnership.
Well, like I said earlier, a lot of our priorities, in reflecting back, have been revolved around children, education, the health and wellness of them. Like I said, looking back in hindsight, one of the things that I would like to start working on is the advocacy for the children, and bringing people together, whether it just be in Genesee County or through the state of Michigan, and helping move forward some of those initiatives that we already support, such as the education, the health and wellness. Child sex trafficking is also another big thing that I'm very interested in, and always have been. And we have supported some of the organizations in different ways, whether it be through therapy, art therapy, or other types of therapies. I am heading up to the Michigan Policy Conference in May, and so I hope that will open some doors for more discussion about advocating for children and many causes. And this is where I see such a great partnership with the Children's Foundation and the line of work that I'm interested and our foundation is interested in supporting. I think it very much coincides with the Children's Foundation.
Absolutely. And you're going to be a real leader for us in Flint and Genesee County and beyond. We're now, as you know, we're in Grand Rapids, we're in East Lansing, we're in Kalamazoo, soon to be Flint. We're in Flint already a little bit with Hurley, but we hope to do more coming up in May with our most recent grant allocations, and then sort of spread throughout Genesee County as well into Saginaw. We've been up there talking to the folks in Saginaw. We've also been up to Traverse City trying to create some partnerships up there, and also both of our alma maters. I mean, Central Michigan University and President Davies is now meeting with the foundation on a regular basis, and we hope to do a lot of great things with their College of Medicine, which now has a relationship with Children's Hospital Michigan physicians. And so our statewide strategy is really taking off, and heading up to Flint, Genesee County with your guidance will be a big part of that.
Yeah.
So thank you.
You're welcome.
And anything else you want us to know about Venture or the Hagerman Foundation?
One of the things that we decided as a foundation is bringing together certain groups that are advocating for, if it is children or education. And we brought them what we called a lunch and learn. We brought people that we were granting to and people that we were not granting to the table. And they just had a discussion about what each one of them were doing. We just sat back and listened to them. And it was so amazing to see the collaboration, the silos going down,
right,
and really working together jointly towards the same mission. And I'm really proud to say that some of those groups, they've created their own task force. They meet now regularly, and it's been really wonderful to see.
Great. So, well, thank you, Jocelyn. Appreciate it. I look forward to working with you and the Hagerman Foundation, and really look forward to you working with you as a trustee of the Children's Foundation. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was Jocelyn Hagerman from Sky Point Ventures and the Hagerman Foundation. And coming up next, we're going to hear from Brent Wirth from the EasterSeals when Caring for Kids continues here on the great voice of the Great Lakes, News Talk 760 WJR.
Welcome back to Caring for Kids on WJR, presented by the Children's Foundation.
With me in the studio is Brent Wirth. Brent is the CEO of EasterSeals Michigan. He is passionate about improving the lives of individuals with physical, intellectual, and emotional disabilities. Brent joined the leadership team at EasterSeals Michigan in 2005. He served in several positions in the organization before he was appointed to the role of president and CEO in 2010. And so, Brent, welcome to Caring for Kids.
Thank you for having me.
You and I have met a few times, and we're going to talk about our new partnership that we have with the Children's Foundation. But growing up, people my age are all very familiar with the EasterSeals and the brand, which is very powerful. But I would think many of us, if not most of us, are not aware of the entire scope of what the EasterSeals does. So I thought I'd give you an opportunity to talk a little bit about that so our listeners really know more about EasterSeals maybe than they do right now.
Sure. Well, this year we're actually celebrating 100 years here in Michigan.
Okay.
So it's a big
happy anniversary.
Yeah, thank you.
Happy birthday.
A lot of people remember us as serving kids with physical disabilities. So we were initially founded from a gentleman that lost his child during a car accident back in 1919 and founded a hospital at the time that was supporting kids because there wasn't a hospital doing pediatric care at the time.
Okay.
So they really wanted to specialize in kids. And what he found during that time was kids with disabilities were often left at the hospital and hidden from public. So thus they created the Crippled Children's Society.
Okay.
And so that was what our name was until 1967. And during a popular fundraising campaign of EasterSeals, we adopted the name EasterSeals.
Right.
So our early days were centered on serving kids with physical disabilities so that they can be an active part of the community. But the reality is the world changed, and so did EasterSeals. So we're continually evolving to meet the needs of the communities. And if you look at our scope today, here in Michigan, we're providing mental health services, including substance use, autism services, trauma services, therapy services. We still do OT and speech, which we've been doing for a very long time. But the one constant common thing about us is that we are going to change to meet the needs of the community and individuals with disabilities.
Excellent. We're talking with Brent Wirth, who's the CEO of EasterSeals Michigan. And let's talk a little bit about the autism services you provide. One of the areas that we're focusing on as I know you know, is behavioral health, and within that, autism falls within at least our focus area. And so we just made a grant to EasterSeals. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about what that program is and what our partnership's all about?
Sure. So some of the recent studies say 1 in 59 children are diagnosed with on the autism spectrum. And we have been providing services for a very long time to individuals with autism. And some of those services today are ABA and the Play Project and speech and OT. But when the new insurance reform passed, they had to get a diagnosis of autism.
Mm-hmm.
And so the commercial payers and the insurance payers and the public health system created evaluation centers, and there was often long wait lists. And so we do diagnostics for autism, and we started here in Auburn Hills and in Macomb County, partnering with the public mental health and commercial health, because families were waiting months, sometimes years, just to get an evaluation. So
years?
Close to a year. Like right now, we're like 4 to 6 months out even right now, and that's after adding 15 additional diagnostic centers across the state.
Okay.
So we started this. The demand has been huge. And the start, our new partnership with you will really leverage our talents in Grand Rapids. We do trauma assessments there, but we're going to be using this very needed startup funds from the Children's Foundation to do autism evaluations and create a full child diagnostic center in Grand Rapids.
Yeah, it must be very stressful and frightening for parents to have to wait so long to get a diagnosis and then get on the path to treatment. So the more we can do to help folks like you, the better we'll be and the better we'll feel about that. And so previously our guest was Jocelyn Hagerman from the Flint area, and I know you have services up in Flint as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, EasterSeals, we cover the whole state of Michigan.
Okay.
So we have our primary locations are in this metro region, so Oakland, Macomb, and then Flint, and then Grand Rapids. So our largest line of service by a long shot is mental health. So children's mental health, we served 14,000 individuals last year just alone in Michigan, and 7,000 of those were kids, and primarily about 6,000 were those kids with mental health needs.
Okay.
So Flint is a big area that we do behavioral health services. We partner with the public mental health system. We do, we also partner with the juvenile justice system there, so to get kids the access to care that they need. So
one of the things that I spend a lot of time doing is meeting people like yourself, and we now have close to 80 partners with the Children's Foundation, with EasterSeals being one, and I hear a lot about behavioral health and the increase of early childhood, adolescents, and young adult behavioral health issues. Are you seeing that in your travels too, that there are more kids and adolescents, young adults that are suffering from some sort of mental health issue?
Absolutely. Some of the recent studies are showing 1 in 5 of, Americans alone will have a mental illness in this year alone. And the kids are ever increasing as well. So that means kids as well. And so we were very lucky to be afforded something that Senator Stabenow's championed called the Certified Community Behavioral Health Clinic. And what that's allowed us to do is serve individuals, kids and adults, regardless of ability to pay a level of care, and serve them from a mental health full continuum standpoint. And why I relate that to the kids expansion, we have never grown more. So this past year, we had a 37% increase in serving kids with mental health needs. 37%. Wow. And why that is, and a lot of people ask why, and because this grant, we're in schools, we're finding people that need help.
Yeah,
so we're not screening people out, we're screening them into care. And so that's much different than the typical healthcare system. So if we hear about somebody in need, we're at the schools, we're in their homes, we're in their communities, we're doing telehealth intakes, we're doing whatever it takes to get people the help they need.
Wow, that's terrific. We're talking with Brent Wirth, who's the CEO of EasterSeals Michigan. And so what are your main objectives for 2020 and beyond? We're still in a relatively new year, and I'd love to hear about what you hope goes on the rest of this year for EasterSeals Michigan.
Yeah. So certainly we want to continue to support people that have, mental health needs and other special needs. But a big focus of ours is early intervention. So it's fun. I have coffee with all new employees every month. Mm-hmm. And one of the employees asked me, if EasterSeals was in a season, what would it be? The first time I ever had that question, I smiled. And I said, well, we're always in continual spring. And so we're always trying to find new services and new ways to meet the needs of the community. And this year, early intervention and prevention, just as you were talking about, is essential, getting access to care. So we also have another new initiative across the state that we're doing that is trauma-informed infant mental health services. And that's getting kids, and their families, their moms, in utero, birth, at whatever point early on, the mental health services they need. And also, we are the first to be trained in intergenerational trauma. So that trauma, it just doesn't happen with that kid.
No,
usually the parents, the grandparents, and everything. So we were the first trained in it in the United States. So we're really, really happy to implement that. Another new initiative, we just partnered with the state to complement those services and doing maternal infant health services. So we're really trying to find ways to get to people earlier. We have another new initiative from, not new, but a few years, a grant that's called Navigate, that for adults that experience their first psychosis, we're getting them to the care they need. A lot of kids in college, a lot of kids away from home, experience their first psychotic event, and families don't know what to do, and we're trying to find ways to wrap around them, meet their needs. And then the biggest thing that we're doing
bigger than that is focusing on complex care. So at EasterSeals, we serve the most at-risk individuals. We run to the most at-risk. We're typical healthcare payers, and typical systems may not want the most at-risk people. We want to serve them because that's who we are and that's what we specialize in. So we're wrapping around and adding complex care approaches and partners so that we can serve the whole person, not just from a behavioral health standpoint, but from a physical health standpoint as well, nutritional. We're offering all of that. We're maybe not the one doing the service, but we're going to be making sure they get the right services and facilitate the whole health of the individual and families. That sounds like a lot for a year. So you're also big about partnerships. You don't do this isolated with just the EasterSeals. I know when we first met, you were talking with Children's Hospital, and so you're like us. We're big about partnerships because we don't provide any direct service. You, of course, do, but you're also not siloed. You like to see where you can work with others as well.
Absolutely. We wouldn't be here without partners, from donors, from other agencies, from foundations. I mean, we would not be here if it wasn't for our partners. And so absolutely. And we're always trying to find better ways to serve the community. And so whoever and whatever we can partner and find to do, we're gonna do that if it's the right thing.
Yeah. So, and part of that partnership is you're going to be one of our sponsors for our May 12th Behavioral Health Summit. So, thank you.
Yep.
So that's another part of our partnership. And if somebody is listening to the show, a parent, a grandparent, and they want to contact EasterSeals for service or volunteer, what's the best way to get a hold of EasterSeals Michigan?
We have a 1-800 number, which is 1-800-75-SEALs.
75 SEALs.
Yeah, and we also have a website.
Okay, of course you do.
And, the beauty in anybody that wanted to contact us is we have a whole contact center that we're going to take the call and, hopefully, we are the best provider for that individual, but if we're not, we're going to help that individual in need find the best provider for them.
Great. Well, thanks for all you do. We're excited about our partnership with you at the Children's Foundation, and we hope for many years to come. So thanks a lot, and have a great 2020, and we'll check in later in the year and see how things are going. That was Brent Wirth of EasterSeals, Michigan. And next on Caring for Kids, we're going to hear from Dr. Patrice Johnson about her work at Boys Hope, Girls Hope of Detroit. That's when we continue here on WJR.
Welcome back to Caring for Kids on WJR. Presented by the Children's Foundation. Once again, here's Larry Burns.
In the studio is Dr. Patrice Johnson, and she is the Executive Director of Boys Hope, Girls Hope of Detroit. Mm-hmm. And under Dr. Johnson's leadership, the organization is experiencing a strategic resurgence at this time in its 35-year history of residential and community-based services. Dr. Johnson started her service as the vice mayor of Muskegon Heights, Michigan, and has since continued to be a change agent in both political and educational landscapes. Dr. Johnson is also the author of 2 faith-based nonfiction books. So welcome to Caring for Kids.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's great to see you as always.
Good to see you.
And so what I'd like to do is give our guests an opportunity to talk first about, in your case, the overall mission of Boys Hope, Girls Hope, and talk a little bit about that. And then we're going to talk about, our new partnership and some other things, but maybe just an overview of Boys Hope, Girls Hope.
Well, I first want to say the tie is perfect today.
Thank you.
I love the purple.
Yes, well, purple is my winter color, where pink is more of the summer color.
Understood. Got it.
And it's often said that I have a face for radio.
Oh, I think you can do both, TV and radio.
Thank you.
So I'm excited to chat with you about Boys Hope, Girls Hope Detroit. I've been leading the organization for about 2.5 years now.
Right. Yep.
And the key word in our mission statement that I like to hone in on is the word nurture. So we have 3 programs, but through those programs, we do holistic child development where we focus not only on a child going to college and graduating, being career ready, but the development of that child from a social and emotional standpoint. We look at things like social equity. We look at the child's capacity to break generational poverty in their family. If they come from a background, which most of our kids do, where they face poverty and they face various social inequities like racism or gender inequity. And so we assist our kids with not only making sure that they have a good GPA and that they're enrolled in some of the best schools, but are they emotionally whole? Do they have the capacity to lead? And making sure that we nurture those innate abilities that they have. All of our kids are extremely gifted and talented, creative, right? But how do we help them to realize their full potential? And so that nurturing process is not a 1-year process. We have our kids over 8 long years. So they usually come to us as an 8th grader or a rising 9th grader, and we stick with them up until they graduate from college. And so we have a 90% college graduation rate where our kids are very successful.
That's terrific. And what you just said summarizes the future of the Children's Foundation in the sense that we're now more about wellness and pathways and social determinants, breaking down silos and maybe stopping decades of poverty and do that through education and mentoring. So our partnership, which we're going to talk about, is ideal for us as we move forward. And we're talking with Dr. Patrice Johnson, the Executive Director of Boys Hope, Girls Hope of Detroit. And I think I told you when I was in higher ed at the University of Toledo, we actually supported Boys Hope, Girls Hope because we were recruiting your kids. And so now in my current position, it's great to be able to partner with you again as well. So that was a great explanation. And so the Children's Foundation recently made a grant to Boys Hope, Girls Hope for remodeling of a neighborhood-based home that we visited recently. And so tell us how that, tell us about the home and where it is, because it's in a cool neighborhood in Detroit. And then what, more importantly, what that home does for you guys and the young ladies you serve.
Absolutely. So this is my heart. This is my baby and my vision for the organization. We've always had residential-based homes. Across our network, there are 18 affiliates, 2 in South America, most of them in the U.S. So all of our affiliates have home-based residential care facilities. And it's not your usual residential treatment type of home, right? When you walk into it, you're going to feel like this is an actual house. But we assist students who have a motivation to be successful, but their home life does not necessarily support their potential. And so the parent and the organization makes a decision to kind of co-champion that child as a partnership, but they live in our home 24/7. And so about a year ago, our home, which is in the Green Acres neighborhood off of Livernois and 8 Mile in Detroit, such an amazing community. They call it the Fashion District, right?
Yes, very nice. It's
and
very
so
cool.
Our home was it just wasn't up to snuff, right? And from my lens, I felt like, how could we, reimagine what this home looks like, and not just from a cosmetic standpoint, but also what about the programmatic aspect that can shift. So we started on this journey to launch what I'm calling a 21st century urban boarding program, where the 3,000 plus square feet of this home is transformed into programmatic space that includes a culinary art style kitchen.
Right.
And
Saw that. It's very cool.
Yes.
Very nice.
An art therapy room, which is what your organization directly supports, as well as a reflection room for meditation and mindfulness. And the basement is now a dance and fitness studio, along with a therapy nook. So those spaces, why are they important? They're important because for girls, and particularly girls of color, we've envisioned a way for them to have everything they need in a very nurturing, holistic space that focuses on their health and their nutrition. So breaking the cycles of food deserts, where most of our girls come from, where they're going to be in a position to understand the benefits of healthy nutritional meals, right? And learning how to cook those meals. And then 2, the social emotional well-being of that home, having one-to-one therapy right available in the house, exploring their identity through art with our art therapy room. And then the last space that I didn't mention is the media center, which is like a library for the girls, which we've had before, but this time it's going to be high tech. They'll have iPads, access to kind of a techie savvy library. So all of those spaces essentially helped us to cultivate what I like to call this female leadership incubator. So here we're taking girls.
And how many girls live in the house?
We'll have 6.
6. That's what I thought.
Girls.
Yep, 6.
Yes.
And a, I'll say house mother.
Yes.
It's not the right term, I'm sure, but...
it's close enough.
All right.
But yes.
Go ahead.
So we'll have the 6 girls. They live with a house mother, as well as residential counselors who facilitate the curriculum in the house, which is called Project Life. So that curriculum kind of undergirds the everyday life of the girls, focusing on life skills and all those areas that I mentioned. So really focusing on, again, that whole child development, but specifically for girls of color.
Excellent. And so we're talking with Dr. Patrice Johnson from Boys Hope, Girls Hope, Detroit. And so I mentioned that the Children's Foundation is on a relatively new path with social determinants, and education and mentoring is key to that. That's why it's one of the reasons our partnership is such a natural one. So what I'm sure people ask you from time to time is how are your alumni doing? How are these young people, men and women, doing now that they're not in college? And
So one of my favorite stories, well, I have 2. I do have a board member who was an alum, and so you could see how he's doing.
Yeah.
He's been to China and back. He works in HR, but he was one of the first young men that actually resided in the residential home that we're now remodeling.
Okay.
So he serves on our board. But one of my favorite stories is about a young lady by the name of Judith who went to Crystal Ray, and she was a part of our community.
It's one of our partners, too, Crystal Ray.
Yes. All right, Crystal Ray. Her name is Judith, and she was a Crystal Ray student, and so we supplemented her tuition, and she was in our after-school program. And then she graduated, and she went to U of M Dearborn. I don't fault her because I went to Michigan State. We have a brand new football coach.
And you have a green jacket on.
I had my green jacket on. All the same, she graduated from that school, and I'm proud of her. So Judith is one of our students who, again, faced these systemic barriers, right? Poverty, considered low income, but an aspiring leader. And she now has a job working at DTE as a special projects director, or I forget the exact title. But she, in her role, she has to assist other students who were like her at DTE. And so for me, that was the, exact model of what Boys Hope, Girls Hope is to do. We nurture young people, ensure that they become leaders for others, basically, and that's what we saw for her, that she developed those leadership skills. She went to college, but more importantly, the job that she has after college is giving back, which is exactly what we want our kids to do.
Yes, you're continuing that cycle of improving lives.
Yes.
And so congratulations on that. Anything else you want our listeners to know about Boys Hope, Girls Hope?
Our open house is going to be in May 2020, May 20th, 2020.
All right.
And we are also, like you guys, one of the charities for Charity Preview, so we want people to support that.
There you go. Yes. Tickets go on sale March 18th or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah, and so it's going to be great this year. It's in the summer, and so there's.
And you and I are going to look really good.
Yeah, we're going to look good. We're going to have a photo taken.
Oh,
yes.
they don't want to miss that.
Yeah, exactly. And so, Dr. Johnson, thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
And look forward to a long-standing partnership with Boys Hope, Girls Hope. So thank you. That was Dr. Patrice Johnson of Boys Hope, Girls Hope, Detroit. And coming up next, I'm going to introduce you to this month's Little Champion and also provide an update on some of the cool things going on at the Children's Foundation. It's right here on the great voice of the Great Lakes, News Talk 760 WJR.
It's Caring for Kids with Larry Burns.
This portion of Caring for Kids is dedicated to highlighting our Little Champion. The Little Champion program honors children who have overcome major obstacles in their young lives and continue to tackle those challenges with a smile each and every day. Tonight, I am pleased to introduce you to this month's Little Champion, Keon. Keon is a senior in high school and loves to play football and basketball. But in November of 2019, everything changed when he was involved in a horrible car accident that left him unresponsive at the scene with a brain injury, skull fractures, and many broken bones. Keon remained unconscious for several days, but now, just a few months later, he is regaining the ability to talk, walk, and smile, and truly showing he is a champion. So congratulations, Keon, this month's Little Champion. And for more information on the Little Champion program and how you can nominate a child, visit yourchildrensfoundation.org/champion. And a couple foundation updates. Just wanted to let you know, I mentioned earlier that the 2020 Child and Adolescent Behavioral Health Summit is going to take place on May 12th. I mentioned the EasterSeals as a sponsor. That's going to be at the Inn at St. John's in Plymouth, Michigan. It's going to be a great day of all different topics regarding behavioral health, mental health, and for all ages. So to get your tickets on our website at www.yourchildrensfoundation.org. And also the Jamie Daniels Foundation will be one of the beneficiaries of this year's I Ran the D 5K on May 17th. And sign up today and use the promo code JAMIE10 for $10 off your registration. That's the Jamie Daniels Foundation, one of our affiliate partners. I want to thank you for joining us tonight on Caring for Kids. The Children's Foundation is proud to sponsor this program where we talk about our partnerships and the many things that this community is grateful for, helping our children and young adults. So thanks for listening. I'll see you next time. Indeed.
Caring for Kids with Larry Burns on WJR has been presented by the Children's Foundation.